his sights set on James Comey in this morning's tweet storm, hammering home his view that the former FBI director belongs in prison. The president also weighing in on the investigation into his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, arguing attorney-client privilege has become a thing of the past and that all lawyers are, quote, deflated and concerned. There's a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll giving Democrats an edge in the November midterm elections. Joining me now is Republican Representative Leonard Lance, who represents New Jersey's 7th Congressional District. Great to have you with me, and I'll start with the tweets. Mention them there. I won't read all of them, but I wonder how much your constituents in Essex County, Somerset County care about what the president's tweeting. He outlined a whole lot there about this book, talked about Syria, any matter of things. What's your sense of what folks in America are concerned about? Is what President Trump is concerned with in alignment with what they're concerned with?
I certainly think people are concerned about Syria and our action in Syria, and I think that we need a policy moving forward in Syria. I understand why the president and his allies, our allies, Britain and France, took the action that was taken, and I think that's much more important than the back and forth between James Comey and Donald Trump.
What's your stance on what happened in Syria? Do you think the president did the right thing, did the legal thing, calling for those strikes on his own, or should he have gone to Congress first?
As a member of Congress, I would hope that any president would come to us, but all presidents seem to take this type of action. But if there is sustained action, David, then I think the president would have to come to Congress.
There have been some who said that Congress has lost control of its war powers, that it had more responsibilities in the past or embraced those responsibilities in the past. Do you agree with that? Should Congress be doing more to exert influence on the president when he makes decisions like these?
Yes, and that's true regardless of who the president is, and this is an institutional matter, and actually the last time we declared war, of course, was in World War II.
You were on Capitol Hill last week speaking with the CEO of Facebook. This was a highly anticipated hearing before a committee that you're on, the Energy and Commerce Committee. What were you most concerned about? I watched closely the Senate hearing the day before. Senator Ed Markey talking a lot about having people elect to give away their privacy, first of all, outlining concrete things that this company should be doing. As you walked away from that hearing the following day, the House hearing, were you satisfied that this company knows what it needs to do?
I don't know the answer to that, but I had suggested that Facebook look to legislation, which I'm a co-sponsor, the browser legislation, and that would require opting in by the American people instead of opting out, and it would apply across the board to edge providers as well as ISPs, and I think that's the move that should occur, that we should pass that legislation. And also, of course, there was a consent decree in 2011 between Facebook and the Federal Trade Commission. I asked Mr. Zuckerberg about that.
Should this company be regulated? That was the open question going into both of those hearings. Now, having watched the Senate one, participated in the House one, do you have a definitive answer to that? Do you think that Facebook and other internet companies are capable of regulating themselves?
I think we should pass the browser legislation, and I think that that would go a long way in this area. And of course, the Federal Trade Commission, David, is now investigating whether or not any of the provisions were violated.
Do you get the sense that Silicon Valley has reckoned with its position in the world, its position vis-a-vis Congress? There were a lot of people who made fun of you and your colleagues' understanding of the way these companies work. Do you think that there is a deficit there and that Silicon Valley needs to work more closely with Washington, D.C.?
I think that we on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and particularly the Telecom Subcommittee and Digital Commerce Subcommittee, have a significant understanding of these issues, and I hope that that will be across the board in Congress, but certainly ours is the Committee of Jurisdiction.
I want to ask you about leadership in your party. Paul Ryan has announced he's not going to seek re-election. Assuming you're back in Congress in the fall, assuming that Republicans are in power, of course that could change as well. Who would you like to see in that leadership role, either as minority leader or as Speaker of the House?
I think Kevin McCarthy is the leading candidate to be the new Speaker, and he has the support of Paul Ryan, and he has the support of Steve Scalise as well.
How much involvement do you want the White House to play in that search? We've heard from Paul Ryan he intends to campaign, continue to raise money, continue to be active on Capitol Hill in his role as Speaker going ahead. Do you want the White House to wield influence here, suggesting who might be the next Speaker or the next minority leader of the Republican Party?
I do not, David. I think it's exclusively a legislative matter, and I think the executive branch should stay out of that. That it has nothing to do with President Trump. I think it's an institutional matter, and I have experience in this regard in New Jersey. I think governors of New Jersey should stay out of legislative elections for leadership in Trenton, and I think the White House should stay out of leadership elections on Capitol Hill.
One last question about the midterms. If I were to call you a moderate Republican, is that a term that you would embrace?
Yes, I am in the center. I'm center-right, but I'm a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus, part of No Labels, and we believe the best governance is from the center out.
And I ask you that because I wonder how difficult it is to be somebody in that position in this Republican Party today. As you look ahead to those midterms, as you look at that conversation happening about House Republican leadership, is it hard to be a moderate Republican today?
No, and I think our influence will increase, and I'm concerned about the Democratic Party because I think it's moving too far to the left. That's why I'm so pleased to be member of Problem Solvers Caucus, moderate Republicans, and moderate Democrats.
Let me react to something here quickly. Again, I mentioned that NBC Wall Street Journal poll just looking at approval ratings here. See, 39% approve of the job that President Trump is doing, 57% disapprove. How much is he an issue or the issue as you approach the midterms, President Trump and his policy priorities?
I will be judged based upon how I have voted. I have disagreed with the White House on the tax bill and on health care, and I represent a very highly educated constituency, and I will campaign based upon my views.
All right, the gentleman from the 7th Congressional District in New Jersey, Congressman Leonard.